Hey YouTube, how's it going? Doing another update on my project bike. First big thing, as you can see, I picked up a second project bike in the back corner there. It's currently in pieces because I'm tearing it down and cleaning it and going through what I need to replace. We'll get to that in a minute. So this one's just about done. It's probably going to have about one or two more updates and then be good to go. Just waiting on really parts. To big things that I've updated so far since the last video, obviously you can see I put a Geico Honda kit and a custom number plate kit on, and finally replaced the brake lever. You guys already saw everything with the handlebars. What else? Oh, I still haven't gotten around to replacing the exhaust. That'll be probably the very last thing I do, because the exhaust works fine. I just want to replace it because it looks a little old. And plus the clamp system you see here is kind of a crappy job that the guy did. So from there, the big project I'm still working on is the clutch system. So I don't know if you can see, but you can see all those little grooves right there. That's really bad grooving in the clutch. It's supposed to be all flush. So that was really, really bad. And actually so bad that I was finding metal shavings in there. So I got it, went on eBay, got a new clutch basket, bought new inner hub too that I'm going to replace. Only thing left I have to go buy is the actual clutch kit with the fibers, plates and everything. So that and the gaskets, and then I'll be able to install it. Let me show you that really quick actually. So this is the new setup. I got the Hinson Bulletproof, the H389. Got it for a pretty good price because it was used for about 5 hours, but it looks brand new. And it already had the back drive installed and everything. The only thing I had to install was this middle one right here. So that was pretty easy. And then I bought a Pro X inner hub. Got it for $50, so I'm $200 in the clutch so far with the two basket pieces. And the only thing left I'm also contemplating buying is, I don't know if I should buy a new pressure plate. Because the pressure plate itself, there's no wear on it. So I'm thinking maybe I can just leave it as is. But at the same time too, if I'm replacing everything in there, I might as well replace that. That's just if I can find it for a cheap price again. Because I was finding them for like $35, but now I can't find one under $80. And I don't really feel like paying $80 for a pressure plate new. So that's kind of a wait and see. We'll see what happens. But this is the springs and the original clutches that were in there. You can kind of see the little sparkling on there. That's the metal shavings from the hub. So good thing I cracked that open and replaced it. Yeah, so I got the new radiators went on fine. I still got to get a like a shroud kit for them. I think they're called louvers, radiator louvers. And then, oh, another thing I installed, you can see this big tube right here. That's the engine overflow tube, I believe. And I accidentally bought a engine overflow tube kit instead of the carb kit. So that was my fault. But at this point, I'm not going to replace the carb drain hoses. Maybe when I don't know why that one's standing up, but maybe when I get around to it, next time I pull the carb out I will. But so far the shock seems pretty good. I want to ride it a couple times before I mess with replacing the shock up. I'll probably do a rebuild on it after the first 1 or 2 rides, but I want to see how it performs with my weight before I replace the stock shock spring for something else. And I still need to replace the drivetrain. I'm going to get a new chain in front and rear sprocket, but I'm waiting to do that. My very last kind of big update to this bike I'm going to do all at once. I've still got, like little bling pieces I'm going to add, like new shifters and brake levers, all that fun stuff, like new caps, plugs, all the little red bling stuff I can add down the road. I got to decide too if I'm going to add a new cam tensioner. I haven't decided yet. I want to see how the bike rides as is so far before I start messing with that. And then probably at the end of the summer I'll do a complete rebuild of the engine inside, like gaskets and everything. But other than the dirty oil and the ripped up the ripped up clutch, I mean, the engine was in good shape, so I'm just going to leave it for now. But I got the graphics off eBay, if anyone's interested. It was graphics kit for 2002 to 2004s. But pretty much the next phase, which will be pretty simple and then it'll be good to ride, is I'm going to replace both brake lines, because you can see it's got some like red kind of glue or glow paste in it. I think that's from it breaking. So I'm going to replace that and flush the brakes on both sides. And then I'm going to put on new rotors and pads. And then that'll be good for the brakes. That's it. And I'm just going to do the Tusk brake pads and rotors, so it's only going to cost like $120 bucks. And then it's about $100 for the brake lines. So it's not horribly expensive. The little more expensive bling thing I'm going to be doing though is I am going to get some of those Tusk new black wheels with the red hubs. These wheels are great. I'm going to keep them as a backup set, but the tires, you can see, are all cracked and everything, so I need to replace the tires anyway. So if I have to replace the tires, the sprockets, and the brakes, I might as well just do the wheels at once too. It's about $450 for the wheels. So those will be done probably next month, maybe February, and then it'll be all set to ride. Suspension doesn't need a revalve or anything. It was running pretty good, and it'll pretty much be good to go, other than some little things that I'm going to add. Oh, I still need to add a new plate underneath there to protect it. What do you call it? Skid plate. The Works Connection one that was on there was really bent up and kind of rusted and stuff, so I'm just going to get a new one, because I can find relatively nice used ones for around 40 bucks on eBay. So yeah, that's pretty much it on this bike. Came out pretty good. Oh, I'm probably going to replace the seat cover too. Other than that, I mean, the bike's pretty much set to go. I can't turn it on yet because I still got to put the clutch in and fill up the fluids. But I mean, I'm really excited to ride it. I can't wait. Now onto this one. This is my next project bike I grabbed. This one was in definitely worse shape than my 450, but supposedly two-strokes are easier to work on, so I figured it'd be a cool project for me. And you can't really tell in the video, the frame is coming up kind of like as an olive, or kind of lime, really dull lime, but it's actually a bright green. I don't know why it's not coming up in the natural color, but I am going to strip it down to the frame and repaint the frame, because the frame was kind of multicolored depending on how much light exposure parts had. And going to replace the exhaust. And probably do the new radiators again too, and radiator hoses, just cause. Got to check on the suspension. It feels a little tough. This one has the KYB. The CRF had the Showa. But I forgot to mention this is a 1999 KX250 two-stroke. So it's 2 years older. Well, yeah, 3 years technically older than my bike, even though it was made technically in 2000. It's considered a 1999 based on the manufacturing date. It's got quite a bit of maintenance stuff that needs to be done to it, but not really engine stuff. The engine's pretty much good. Really what needs to be done is all the bearings and seals. Because like on the back here, I pulled off the subframe and I went to pull off the rear shock, and you can see all this stuff under here. That's not dirt. That's like that's the rubber bearings inside, or the rubber seals for the bearings was just crumbling out. So I mean, I'm taking it apart. I'm going to clean it down like crazy, paint the frame. Got new plastic already, because the plastic was UFO, which is nice, but the last owner just decided to spray paint all the plastic black from the original green. So I got brand new plastic. I'll put a new kit on. I got from my girlfriend new grips for Christmas, and I'm going to replace the handlebar, just because the handlebar is a little worn out. I mean, the handlebar is still good. I'm going to keep it as a spare in case I need it, because I kept the stock spare for my CRF over there too. It's a Pro Taper, but I'm going to change the rental out to a Pro Taper. I kind of prefer the Pro Tapers. And I figured out too, this one, it looks like might have a, I don't know if it's a wiggle where I need to put in new bushings, or if it's just an actual dampening kit. So I'm not entirely sure, because you can see there's a little bit of play in the handlebar. So to start, stripping it down, cleaning out the carb, Gonna rebuild the shock and gonna rebuild the seals on the rear end, the swing arm seal, swing arm bearings, shock bearing kits, and then I also bought new right here. You can see how easily the pegs move, so I bought new peg springs, and I'll replace the pegs down the road, but that's kind of like a last minute thing I need to do. But yeah, that's about it. So this one will be a little bit slower to build because I want to finish up the 450 before I break into this one, but I'm going to build this one kind of as my fun mess around bike. The 450 is kind of more my baby, like track bike that I'm going to use, but I might end up racing this summer too. I want to kind of start racing for fun. I've never raced before, but I figured I could do the novice classes. And I know some people do race two-stroke still, so I could turn this into a race bike for me, or I might have it just double as a fun track bike / trail bike, because I've got some friends and stuff that go up in the mountains, and we might just use this over the 450. But the 450 does feel lighter for some reason than this one, even though they're pretty much in the same weight class based on their years. And you can see too, part of the reason I'm going into the carb is you can see all that gunk on the exhaust. The exhaust all bashed up, so I got to replace the exhaust, but it was running a little rich because he got a lot of goop coming out. He's running 40-to-1 ratio for the oil mix, and I might try a different type of oil mix, we'll see. But so far, yeah, that's it. I just kind of want to show you my project bike. This one definitely won't be done by March. It's going to take me a while to build up. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to replace, this is inside the air box on the bike. I might replace all the wiring, rebuild it with stock wiring again, just because on a, what would that be, 16-year-old bike, it's kind of, well, almost 17 now because we're 2 weeks away from New Year. It's kind of, I don't know, just don't want a fire hazard or anything. And I don't know if, for some reason, this was on a ranch, so who knows if there was like mice chewing on the wires and whatnot, because it happens in cars a lot. But lots of little things I'm going to do to it. This is the only annoying part. The little gasket that goes from the air box to the engine I'm going to have to replace. I don't think you can see, but it's actually cracked. So I'm going to have to get a new one of those. That runs about $70. Radiators and tubes are $102. I might replace the louvers too, because they look kind of old. So when I go to put graphics on, I'll get new louvers, and might get green this time. I'm not entirely sure. But so that'll run $100, $130 with new lower covers. Exhaust is about $300, $320. This one does need at least a new front wheel. The front wheel is kind of ripped up. The back wheel is fine, but I'll probably replace both at once just to be good and just keep the back wheel as a spare. And brake lines, I'm probably going to bleed the front brake because it's got a little bit of I'll show you, delay in it. So, plus you can see it's almost underneath the way the guy had it running. You can see how it kind of just pulls out. It's really tight and it's slow to release, and it can actually move that far back. So I'm going to replace the brakes, brake pads, and fluid. I don't know if I'll replace the line yet, we'll see. Might as well probably, because I mean it is a project bike. But still unsure if I'm going to get it powder coated or just paint it. I'm kind of leaning towards painting just because it's kind of expensive and that's money I can put elsewhere. But I haven't cracked into the engine case yet. It seems pretty good. It shifts fine and everything, so I don't think I have to do anything in it right now. I probably will replace the water pump with the Boyasin again. And there was no shavings or anything in the fluid, but the fluid was definitely really old. It hadn't been replaced in a while. So I'll probably run it a little bit as is once I get all the cosmetic and bearings / seals done. And then after a couple rides, drop the oil and then see how the clutch looks with fresh oil. And probably same thing again, I'll do a top end and bottom end rebuild on this one next fall after riding season's over. And you can see there's little things I need to replace, like you can see the back reservoir right here is a little loose. It was missing some bolts and stuff, so I'll probably get a lot of new OEM bolts. either from motosport.com or see if I can find somebody who sells a kit with all the bolts, because I know they sell the kits for graphics kits too, so I might have an entire build kit for just the random bolts and nuts that I need to rebuild. And I'm going to replace the, got to do a little more research on the two-stroke, but I'm going to replace the throttle too. I already pulled the throttle cable to get the carb out, but I'd like you can see it's all broken up, so I'm going to get a new one anyway. But I'd like to do the aluminum one I did last time. I think it was the Tusk I did in the CRF, and that one's really nice. I had it on my old YZF too. Well, newer than both these bikes, but my last bike I had. So it works really nice. It's a little tight right now because I still got to loop the cables, but I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it so far. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know I like watching builds, so hopefully you guys enjoyed watching them. And if you have any question on parts I used or where I got stuff, just let me know. And tune in next time to see probably the startup of the CRF and one last walk around.